Hi, I'm Ryan Izay, and this is Real Movie News. Let's talk about the Batman.
Ugh, life's so hard when you're a vigilante.
So we had our first installment of the emo Batman, which admittedly I was a little bit resistant to at first. But I guess, if we can have our wisecracking Michael Keaton Batman and our spiritually driven Christian Bale Batman and our militaristic Ben Affleck Batman, even our cartoonish Val Kilmer Batman and our nippled batsuit porn Batman, or whatever you want to call George Clooney's version, then we might as well have an emo version as well. That wasn't as annoying as I expected it to be, but there were a lot of things about this film that disappointed me. I'll be honest, I had high expectations for the Batman. I'm a big fan of Matt Reeves, the director. He's one of the only directors that have successfully remade a foreign horror film. Let Me In, I think, is nearly a better film than the Let the Right One In, even if just because he removed the CGI cats, which were terrible. And it also has a great score. Same composer as the Batman, but we'll get to that in a second. The thing is, I didn't feel like the problem with the Batman was Matt Reeves' direction. He did a fantastic job. It was spectacular in a lot of ways. I loved the sound design. I loved the opening introduction. First 30 minutes of the film, I think, are great. My problem is with the screenplay. It falls flat. First, there's not much depth to it. The arc for Batman was great. I appreciated that we get the parallel in the beginning of the victim of mugging that is scared of Batman, and by the end, we have the victims of the terrorist attack reaching out a hand to Batman. That was nice. Beyond that slight character arc, what was the point of the film? I didn't appreciate the villain perspective because it was a majority of the film was this mystery of who he was, and then when it was revealed, it was like, okay, wasn't a huge mystery, it was just some weirdo. Don't even get me started on the villain. I had problems with the villain from beginning to end. I appreciate this idea of let's reframe Batman as a detective story and almost in some ways blatantly rip off David Fincher films. The similarities to Seven are a little bit on the nose for me. The ending, anticlimactic ending of the Riddler giving himself up was not very exciting, especially since how does he get caught? He gets caught from a witness that we don't see telling police, which we don't see, and then that leading to his capture. He's this brilliant mastermind, but he's caught crawling out of a window by some random witness, and then just is approached at a coffee shop diner, and he's like, oh, you got me. That was a little bit weak, in my opinion, especially since neither of the film's primary villains are featured at all in the climactic action showdown finale, whatever you want to call that. And we have this weird moment that's supposed to be intense where Batman cuts the line and he falls into the water. Why was that so dramatic? He fell into some water. It wasn't that dramatic. Why was that the climax of the film? Because they didn't have a villain for him to show down to. So the structure of the film was lacking for me. There was not enough depth, not enough payoff for 3 hours of content. I expected more. I wanted more from the dialogue. I wanted more from the development of characters. And I wanted more from the villain. Not just the way it was written, which I think that a lot can be learned from Shakespeare in this regard, that villains, one of the best villains ever written, in my opinion, was Shylock from Merchant of Venice. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? What Shakespeare understood was that if you create a villain that's sympathetic, then we're able to understand and relate to them to a point. Until then, they go too far. And Black Panther's Killmonger understood that. Even Thanos from the Avengers films understood that. And I love that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has continually poked fun at that with the Thanos was right bumper stickers and coffee mugs and all those other things. But they understood that to create a villain with depth is far more effective than someone that's just whining on the internet. And I understand the whole 4chan, Reddit, toxic internet mentality being represented in this character. I get it. I also am entirely convinced that the final sequence was meant to be an allegory for the Capitol riots. That's my opinion. But that's not enough to excuse the lack of depth in the character. It also isn't enough to excuse, in my opinion, Paul Dano's performance, which was over the top. It was moments of, I'm gonna yell really loud! And I'm gonna be creepy. It was too much. I would like a little bit subtlety and nuance in the performances. Yeah, how about go back and watch Heath Ledger's Joker and understand what to do? I'm being mean, but I honestly hated that performance so much. Although I will say it was pretty funny when the super angry, I'm in your face character is all of a sudden on his channel, just like, hey followers, hey guys, thanks, I really appreciate your support. Appreciate your support? I'm gonna make that a new word. I had other problems with the film. You know, I didn't mind Robert Pattinson as emo Batman nearly as much as I expected. But I agree with one of my students who said that Robert Pattinson's Batman was better, but Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne was better. And I agree. Because, one, there wasn't enough given to Bruce Wayne within the Batman. But when we do see him, he's often just standing in the corner moping. He's just too emo for me. There should have been a separation. Let the Batman or whatever be emo, but can't Bruce Wayne be a little bit charming? Just a tiny bit? I don't know. It was like he was reverting back to his Twilight persona, and I wasn't a fan. Then there's his suit. I know there was a lot of new controversy when Robert Pattinson said that he wasn't working out to play the Batman. It really didn't matter with that suit. It looked like he was wearing big rig tires. He was so encased in that suit that even if he had worked out, it wouldn't have mattered. We wouldn't have seen it. And he's never shown without it, so it doesn't matter if he was in good shape or not. And the fight choreography wasn't all that impressive. I mean, if I thought he was actually performing it at speed, it might have been, but the impact from the fight scenes comes almost exclusively from the sound design in the film, which is admittedly spectacular. Best part of the film, in my opinion. And I like the score as well. Spectacular score. To the point that it distracted me at times. There were scenes of dialogue that were so boring, so basic, so lacking any nuance or depth, that I found myself more intrigued and preoccupied with the creative and unique things that the score was doing. That's not a great sign for the screenplay. Look, it was 3 hours long, but I was never bored. My problem is that it felt pointless when you get to the end. Actually, no. It felt like the whole point of the 3 hours was to set up a sequel. And no, there was no post-credit scene, but that little final scene that we get with Two-Face and Riddler in the jail is the same thing as all of the Marvel post-credit scenes, which always reminds me that the only point of seeing one of these movies now, especially within the MCU, is to promote the next one. So, yeah, go see Spider-Man Far From Home, so it can lead you to go see Spider-Man No Way Home. Or go see Spider-Man No Way Home so that you can be led into seeing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And go see, even not within the MCU, go see Venom Carnage and get misled into going to see No Way Home thinking that he's going to be in it more than just 3 seconds in the post-credit scene. And you'll be disappointed until you realize that that's just meant to bring you back for future films. That's all they're doing. It's just an ongoing cinematic soap opera. If everyone is okay with that, fine, but let's be honest about it. It's just a soap opera. It will never end. Characters will die and we'll have new ones arrive. As long as they keep making money, it's a never-ending machine. We're not going to have any self-contained stories, and the Batman made that painfully aware, made me painfully... Let me try that again. The Batman made me painfully aware of that point when it had that ending that was just a slap in the face to the audience that, yeah, your whole 3 hours were spent to tease the next movie. Might as well just give us half of a film, like Dune did. Yeah, throwing shade at Dune. Give me a full story, please. So, when all is said and done, will I go see the next Batman movie? Hell yeah, of course I will. Do I think this one was a great film? No. I think it was serviceable. And that's kind of sad. So people online calling it a masterpiece, I am afraid that I disagree with you. There's many things wrong with this film, but there's also a lot great about it. And that's what's problematic. I don't know what to say about it. I love some things, and I hate other things. So I end up somewhere in the middle. Until the sequel, enjoy the show.